Yes, people, I am back, and I couldn't bite my tongue for any longer because this is a little bit early in the day for me. I usually do my videos a little bit later. Got padded podcast in an hour. Got a few things to do later, but nah, my head has been gone from what has been one of the biggest pieces of news of the day. But I think that is probably what was intended, and something that has basically taken over social media. In international break, things can be a little bit slow. So what's the best course of action? If you work for a publication, it's rile up United fans. Because if you have not seen, Benjamin Šeško has been used as almost the pin-up boy for worst deals of the summer. And it has been asked, agents are the ones that have been asked. It's an Athletic article basically being used to scrutinise Sesko and almost state him as almost like an outlier of being the worst deals. It wasn't like he got marginally more votes. He was by far and away almost a unanimous decision as the worst deals of the summer, which makes no sense when you correlate his fee, value, potential in accordance with a lot of the other deals that were done this summer in the Premier League, which a lot have looked a lot worse. I've seen some names omitted that should be on there, and I've seen names on there that shouldn't be. And I just think it's just typical journalism 101. How do I get clicks? How do I get views? Let me piss United fans off. And look, I'm talking about it. People are talking about it. People are riled up about it on Twitter. So it's worked. But I thought it's almost like a double entendre. It was a very unathletic article for me. Because it's a publication that I do respect. We work with and speak with and got good relationships with people on there. But that one in particular has done my head in. But to be fair, they can't dictate what these agents say. But sometimes with things like this, when you're not putting a name to who said it, you gotta consider the integrity of what's being said, especially when United is involved. But my head has been flying. I couldn't bite my tongue, but I said to myself, I have to speak about it because it was the Athletics agent survey, which is something that I've never seen before in my life. If I have, let me know. If it's been done before and I haven't seen it, let me know, because that's missed me. But it just seems like almost a new type of meta that was formulated because it was a way of taking a piss out of a United signing and getting United fans riled up. But we asked the game's deal makers about the best and worst deals, the under-the-radar signings that could surprise people, and will more players go on strike. And it says agents believe Sesko's move to United was the worst deal of the window. When 20 agents were surveyed, some voted for more than one player. Sesko received the most votes with 6, and the only person to get more than one vote was James Trafford, a goalkeeper that was signed for quite an exorbitant fee for a keeper, just to be replaced later on in the same window. So a replacement was replaced in the same window for an exorbitant fee and still wasn't considered worse than the Benjamin Šeško deal. Interesting. But I'm not going to sit here and be disingenuous about Sesko in terms of the fee we paid. If you look at it in terms of his body of work, a lot of it is banking on his potential. What happened previously with the likes of the Rasmus Højlund signing, you could argue that the fee was a slight overpay, was an overpay. But for it to be by far and away the worst deal of the summer, when we're going to talk about some other deals in the summer, no way, no chance. I think that's just ways of sticking it to United. Probably agents that lost out on a bit of commission, who knows, but there is no way that can be true. Because if I go down the list, let me read the list off. So you got Benjamin Šeško that received 6 votes. James Trafford, who received 3, was the only person to receive more than 1 vote. And then on 1 vote, we had Jadon Sancho, Buonanotte, Evan Ferguson to Roma, Connor Cody to Wrexham, Gyökeres to Liverpool, Amari Hutchinson to Forest, Jamie Gittins to Chelsea, Anthony to Betis, Utara to Brentford, and then right at the bottom, which is interesting, they put, so there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's over 10 players with 1 vote there. And they've made sure to put the 2 Liverpool big boys that have had shit starts to their career at Liverpool, Isak and Wirtz, right at the bottom, so where you almost can't see them. Because you know what, Liverpool are the media darlings on Sky Sports and everywhere. The players are protected, and the United players and United are the opposite. But bottom 2 were Florian Wirtz and Isak that only got 1 vote each. One player that was signed for 150 million in Isak for club record fee, and his only goal he scored so far was in the EFL Cup against Southampton, where he shit the bed in every other game. Got Florian Wirtz, who has the same amount of goals and assists as I do to start the season for Liverpool, and was signed for 150 million euros as the game changer, the marquee signing, the golden goose of the summer window. And for some reason, he can only muster up 1 vote. And Isak, worse than Sesko. I looked at the list and I was like, where's Gyökeres? Everyone knows my beef with Gyökeres. I thought he weren't it for the Premier League. I thought he was overrated, it was overvalued. And from what I've seen so far, I don't think I'm wrong. People could argue he scored 97 goals in 102 games for Sporting Lisbon. So the fee that he actually went for in his prime years isn't exactly an overpay. But in terms of value to Arsenal, in terms of deals to Arsenal, in terms of being a ceiling-raising striker that he wanted, I don't think he is that. And I think the only reason he's been playing week in, week out is because Havertz has been injured. Someone that they literally crucify week in, week out. But he's got a better all-round game than Gyökeres. His translation to elite football and elite matches against the big boys is probably better. So I thought maybe he didn't deserve to be the worst deal because of the amount that he spent, but he definitely deserved to be on that list. And what pissed me off is that there's an alternate list that says the best deals, which has Gyökeres on it. Mr. Give me Leeds United or I die. Not die literally before you get carried away. It's a phrasing for basically otherwise I won't do anything. But I just couldn't believe it. I think United fans are rightfully annoyed. It's just seemed like lazy journalism, not very well adversed kind of research and proper looking into it, because there's some poor deals on here. The likes of obviously Florian Wirtz and Isak, who I've just mentioned. You've got Jamie Gittins, who was definitely overpaid because he was extremely raw. He's got talent, but definitely wasn't worth 55 million. Evan Ferguson's had an iffy start to life at Roma, but I think he's had difficulty with injuries. You got Visser, who was bought for 50 million with a year left on his contract, who has done his ACL and hasn't played a game for Newcastle, and he still couldn't muster more votes for worst deal of the summer than Benjamin Šeško, and Visser is 29 years old, and you have no idea how he's going to be when he comes back. I don't know if it's a literal ACL tear that he has, but it's some sort of knee injury. But the Trafford one that got 3, probably because he spent so much on a keeper, just for him to be replaced later on by Donnarumma and not get any minutes. That makes sense. But the Sesko one, who has 2 goals in 3 starts, really, has had a little bit of a easing period, but he started to show the ability and talent that he does have. Playing in a team and an environment that doesn't make it easy for strikers at all. Whereas some are playing for one of the best teams in Europe. Gyökeres, Isak, playing with Salah, Wirtz, all these players behind him. You've got the likes of McAllister, Gravenberch, Ekatike. What are these people watching? Agents, the thing is with agencies, they're meant to know actually a little bit more about the market. They know a little bit more about the workings of deals more than us. So we're not privy to some of the information that they probably do have that they're using to equate this. But even still, I don't think there's enough to argue that Sesko's the worst deal. No chance. And I think this is an article that we're going to look back on from what I've seen in 12 and 18 months' time, laughing at. And I make sure that I've bookmarked it. I've bookmarked it right there because I'm going to come back to it when Sesko proves people wrong, because I think he can. And if anything, there's people on this list that haven't got enough votes that are going to prove him wrong too, because they're going to prove to be much worse deals than they've made out. You got Gyökeres and Donnarumma, who ended up Donnarumma has been voted, by the way, on his probably what is £600,000 a week wages. He's been stated as the best deal of the summer, obviously probably because of his calibre and his cachet playing for PSG, even though the PSG fans did state he was very mistake prone. I don't think they were actually that upset to lose him when they replaced him with the younger upcoming keeper in Chevalier. The price they paid wasn't a huge amount for a keeper of that calibre, so I don't know if that's what they're waiting in. But I don't know how much, because I know City can get their deals cheaper. You know they're dodgy anyway, but I think they pay their transfer fees all at once, which is why they're able to sometimes get fees that look lower than they should be, because they pay stuff in lump sum. And then when you equate that to the underhand agent fees, brown envelopes, the wages Donnarumma is going to be on, I think the actual transfer fee paid starts to look a little bit like less of the problem. But I think it's still early doors to be saying that's the best deal of the summer. I think Isak Gyokeres was in the top 3. Could argue that he's been quite transformative for Everton, and he's only on a loan deal. But the option to buy is like 50 million. There's no chance Everton are activating that. But Viktor Gyökeres, I'm on this Gyökeres Sesko deal because it was one of them where we almost signed him. And I think that would have been catastrophic because this would have been someone that we'd had to replace in 2 years anyway. He's 27, peak, isn't going to improve. It's the first time playing at this level in terms of the Premier League. I think in time it'll look like the better deal. But that was poor by the Athletic article. Poor by the agents. Sometimes you don't know who the agents are. You don't know if they've got certain biases, clients within who they're voting, lots of different things, conflicts of interest. That's why I can't take that article too seriously. And that's why a lot of people try to say agents don't know ball, because all they're caring about is the X's and O's and the finances. But I know, from what I know about the football industry, the best agents are the ones that do know football. But clearly they don't. But let me know what you think about Sesko being published as the worst deal of the summer, especially when we've only just about got to October. I think it's shocking. I'm going to speak about it later on, but I'm not having that. Let me know what you think.